morning, and thank you. Okay, so I can see all of you now. I have to switch glasses. I'm a Gen Xer and I'm age. So it's important to see my computer, so I wanted to see what everyone looked like first. It's a lovely crowd. Let's see, it's April. I just want to know with time, how long do I have? Because I was the train will go off the track. So until 9:30. 9:30. Oh, no. But I'm going to look a lot of my iPhone picture of my losing time. Thank you very much. And yeah, a good health experience during this increasingly difficult time that we're in, especially for the US for the weekend. So let's start off with something positive. How many of you remember Charlotte's Web? How many of you read it? I'm sure your kids have read it as well. I'm opening with this because this was what inspired me to become a writer. I was 6 years old and my mom got me this book and I could not put it down. I read it, I think, 100 times in a row. I could not stop reading it. And the character I identified the most with was Charlotte, the spider. She was a writer. So I wanted to become a writer. So inspired by Charlotte's Web, I wrote my first novel in the second grade. And we were talking about overachiever stereotypes. And I sent it off to a company called Harper & Row because it published a lot of books that I liked. I used to write in the back. I'd write those small pictures. I had a picture of myself, my little glasses, my bangs, and I said, "Oh, it's the second grader at Keene Elementary School in Manchester, Connecticut. This is her first novel, her next book, and I made up titles for my next book." And I got this letter back from Harper & Row, an official letterhead. They said, "Oh my gosh, we love your writing. You're so talented. You are a very talented child writer. You should submit a story to our children's contest coming up for ages 7 to 10." And to my parents' surprise, I started crying. I looked up the letter and I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm not a child writer, I'm a real writer." And I did not take rejection well, and I tell the students when I do my presentation that being a writer means you get a lot of rejection. In fact, you get a lot of rejection in whatever field that you choose to get a career in, but rejection is actually not bad. It actually helps you. You go back and you look at your writing and go, "What could I have done that would have been better at Harvard Road for a 7-year-old?" Okay, and so, and it's all about, trying to become a better writer by just taking criticism in a positive manner. So I often talk about that with the kids. But anyway, so I will continue telling you what happens. Just put in that, remember that Harvard Road rejected me when I was 7 years old. Now, how many of you have heard of Dragons by Lawrence Yep? It was a literary honor. How many of you have heard of this one? Okay, this book came out in 1975. I was a Gen Xer, I was in the first grade. This book should have been in my library. You all should know about this book. It's a literary fabulous, one of the first Asian American authors to be nominated. The fancy stickers they put on, then you know that, oh, this book is really good because it has a fancy sticker. He's a fancy sticker author. And, in fact, he actually started out writing science fiction because he felt alienated as one of the few Asian Americans who were California. And then he started writing historical novels. He's a very famous author, and I didn't see stuff like this. All I saw were books that featured people that didn't look like me, and it's interesting and ironic that the character I identified with most in Charlotte's Web was a spider. So I want to show you the toxic effects of what happens when you don't see yourself in children's literature. On your right, on my left, your right, you can see I played violin. I drew little pictures of myself with black hair, brown eyes. I clearly identify as Korean American. But then to the other side, you see a picture. I started drawing myself with blonde hair, blue eyes after a while. It was really disturbing when I found these illustrations. I forgot that I did this, and I was flipping through them at my parents' house. They went from black hair, blue eyes, blonde hair for a very long time. It was very disturbing to see that. And this is because when we don't see ourselves in literature on screen, our identity is in a place. And the thing is, I'm not saying that I have to be only Asian character books, because we all as readers should be able to identify with whatever we read. We should be able to read books by other diverse writers, and about other children. I can read, a book by a Black author or a Latino writer or Asian, whatever, and I should be able to identify. But when you remove one of us, it's harder to see yourself as having a universal story. And in fact, this goes to statistics. This just came out recently, and this really can't name one Asian American. The number one person, the only person they could name was Bruce Lee. Number two is Jackie Chan, which then, of course, furthers the stereotype that all Asian people know is martial arts. Do you want to know what answer number three was? The answer was, I don't know. And it speaks volumes. It's so they can understand. And I brought this up because we also had the Olympics. How many of you watched the Winter Olympics? And Nathan Chen, yay, go USA, USA. He was described in the Washington Post as having a robotic seal. And there was a lot of stereotypes of Asian Americans and Asians in ice skating, where people started saying, oh, we're getting overrepresented with Asians in ice skating. And that is so insidious and wrong. And it's what we call racist microaggressions, but I kind of consider it a pretty macroaggression. And speaking of macroaggressions, how many of you saw this? I was a senior in high school, 1987, class 87. Did anyone remember this article, front page? Time magazine. This came out when I was in high school. Every Asian American Gen Xer in 1987, I swear to you, we all cringed when we saw this photo. The only good thing about this photo is the little boy in the blue shirt and the blue backpack. He ended up being he's the actor from NBC Heroes and the reboot of Hawaii Five-O. So he really was in this case, so yay. But I bring this up because, you know, this brought up the whole going back to being an overachiever, talking about the model minority, which we all know what that's about. For a very long time, a lot of people would tell me, but Paula, why are you upset about the model minority myth? At least it's a positive stereotype. You know, you play the violin. It's all that you all play the violin, you get straight A's, you go to Ivy Leagues, you become doctors, lawyers, and that's at least positive. And I get really angry when I hear that because I'm like, no, that's actually not a positive thing. It's negative because it humanizes us. It trivializes our individual achievements, and it can be used as a wedge to further divide the Asian community with the Black and brown communities, and it gaslights the Black and brown community. It says, oh, there's Asian tiger mothers, and you know, Asian parents push their kids to excel, and it's like, yeah, so do all parents. It doesn't matter what your race or your background is. What parent doesn't want their, you know, their child to do well and to have a wonderful career and a loving life when they get older? That's what all parents want. So that's why I'm so against the model minority myth. And I'm also against it because I played the violin and I could sing calculus, I went to 2 IBs and 2 IB degrees, and yeah, you know, I'm good at math and all of that. But the thing is, I was an actual speed, I'm good at that. I'm a math teacher, come on. No, but seriously, all the jokes aside, it dehumanizes me. It makes me part of this model. It trivializes what I do. And as I just said, I get very upset with the model minority myth. We have to keep fighting against that. And in fact, something that me and my Asian American friends do now is we don't even joke around anymore about, oh, of course I play the violin, I'm Korean. I don't even make those sarcastic jokes anymore because that just totally gaslights other communities, and it's wrong. So, you know, instead, I'm just like, yeah, play the violin. I love the music. It gave me peace when I was a kid. It's important. Let's look at the personal reasons behind what we want to do in our achievements. And that's what actually led to my first young adult novel called Good Enough, which was a romantic novel about a high school Korean American girl who was orchestra lead, and there's more that she likes. And it's very funny. And I use humor as a way to combat to address model minority and serious issues. And just to let you know, this was published in 2008, which was, I think, 35 years after Harper Row, which became HarperCollins. Finally realized I was a real writer. So see, we come back full circle. It finally works. So it can take a long time, but we got to keep writing. I'm going to go just a little bit into, this is why I also write nonfiction books for young kids, for elementary school students. I focus on a lot of history because I used to be a journalist, and I wrote for the Detroit News, the Seattle Times, and I came out here to write for people magazine, so I still use my journalism background. And I accidentally stumbled on this story about Dr. Samuel Lee. How many people know who he is? Okay, well, okay. You should know Samuel Lee. He's from California. He's the first Korean gold medal at the Olympics. And what happened was when I found the story about it, I'm a Korean American. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's really cool. He won 2 gold medals and a bronze medal in the 1948 and 1952 Olympics. And what was interesting was I read a fact that made me research his life. It turned out he was 12 years old in 1932 in Pasadena. Not allowed to use the town public school. I was not Jim Crow laws were in the South, you know, that type of racism was black and white. I didn't know that as Asian Americans, we too were not allowed to, use this is a public accommodation. That's a violation. So, and I'm going to go back into that. Oh, how can I put these slides up? I'm surprised. This is also what I show the kids, and I can show you as well. These are how picture books are made. That's what they look like, because I don't draw. As you can tell from my earlier pictures, I'm not an artist. So this is what I show the kids, you know, how to write a picture book, and then I show them about the revised draft, so you can see the edited comments and poke it on the side. You know, so that's something I'll be telling their kids about. You're upset when your teacher marks up your paper because, you know, it's a good thing. They're helping you become a better writer. So now going back to Sandy Lee, we got to meet Dr. Lee, and those are, I just want to show some cool pictures because I love the Olympics. And that's him holding the two of the torches that he was part of the relay of the passing of the torch. And I love this photo because he's holding up the gold one. Do you recognize that? It's 1984 Los Angeles Olympic torch. So I thought that was cool. And then you can see me and Don Lee is the other man in that picture. He's the illustrator for my book. And those are the 2 gold medals and the 1 bronze medal that he won. And we actually went to the pool where he was not allowed to swim in. This is a pool today. They, of course, consider him an honored guest. And so that picture there, the artist was with me. That was the sketch that we did. So I showed kids how a picture book was made, and that's what we ended up looking at. In not being able to use the pool in Pasadena in the summer, and we all know how hot it gets, right? And then these are some. I like to show the before and afters. This is a sketch of him diving, and then that's what we ended up looking at. Oh, yeah, I forgot. So. You're with me for a while. Let's show a little bit of this video. And I do want to say for everyone on Zoom, please do not do screenshots and post this on the internet because this is proprietary stuff. So thank you. I should have said that at the beginning. I'm going to just fast forward because there's just some cool stuff in there. I just want to show you. So this is the Olympics from 1948, and that's Sandy Lee talking. And then this is, I just want to show some diagrams. He was one of the first men to do a triple somersault. Now that's not a big deal. I mean, everyone does it now. And it was after he won the national championships. Oh yeah, he's being silly now, doing all this stuff. So, but yeah, it's just amazing. Anyway, so let me go back to here. Okay, so just another story I'll tell you is he wasn't allowed to go to his high school prom. After he won the national championship, he wasn't allowed to go to a restaurant social with his diving team. So his friends in high school and his diving team, they all went to another restaurant that would accept them. For the prom, they all hung out at his house. He did all these great accomplishments. So I talk to people about how we talk about Dr. Lee and resilience and, you know, look at all he achieved. And that's great to talk about resilience and trying to, you know, live the American dream. But what is this American dream if you're being denied access to restaurants, access to go to the prom? So, you know, we have to remember we can't praise people completely for their resilience because it's great to praise people for their resilience to overcome odds, but we can't ignore systemic racism and the fact that our institutions are still preventing us from entering this public accommodation. Now I show this because when people find out I'm a TV writer, they get all excited. So a couple of pictures about my Hollywood life. This is me and Aaron Sorkin. I saw he was there. This is the Warner Brothers set in 2002. This is the West Wing set, and I love showing this to students and to parents to show the facade, the magic, the hard work that goes behind the illusion. And I often use this as a way of saying this is how books are made too. We have a book, but we don't see all the hard work that goes behind it. So this is me at the fake Oval Office, at the fake Resolute desk. And just so you know, we had some people that actually work at the White House who were on staff with us, and they all said that the West Wing Oval Office the Warner Brothers set was like 3 times as big as the real Oval Office. And we actually repurposed a lot of this from the American president. And that's me with the fake president, running Emmys. And this is not a fake newspaper. I'm just very proud of this. I thought it was kind of cool. It's like, oh wow, I'm the one in the red dress all the way to the end of the paper there. And then I showed the kids this. This is how Supergirl flies, and I showed them little videos. So if you behave well, I will show you a fun video. This is me with one of the actors who played the villain. He is over 7 feet tall, very nice guy. And this is an episode I wrote, co-wrote of the West Wing, Eric the 5th season called Pond. And it was about North Korean pianist that wanted to he wanted to defect on the night of the recital at the White House. The chaos ensues. And I was very proud of this episode because this was the first time that I wrote about someone who looked like me on screen. And that was also very powerful. So the reason why I showed you all this is all this research in my life led to this next book where I wrote about Anna Mae Wong, the first Asian American female movie star from the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. And I also bring this up because I tell kids, hey, I played the violin. I'm going to write a book about being a violinist. Hey, I write for Hollywood. I wrote a movie about, Hollywood. And I tell the kids, and I also tell all of you, every single one of you is a writer. You all have your own unique story to tell. It doesn't matter if you end up working and becoming, I don't know, a pharmacist, a doctor, a lawyer, owning your own construction company, whatever it is that you do, your own business, whatever you do to become an adult, you still can write your great American novel or your great American screenplay. We all matter, and we all have a story to tell. So I try to also impart that to your kids. Now, what's interesting with Anna Mae Wong is she was all about hashtag representation matters before the internet even came about, because she was up for the role of the Chinese farmer's wife in the movie version of The Good Earth by Paula Yoo, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature. But because they had cast Paul Mooney, who was a white man, they could not cast her because back then, in the 1940s, white actors were not allowed to kiss actors of color. So they hired Louise Rainier, who was white, to play the role, and she ended up winning an Oscar for this. This movie got a ton of Oscars. And if you look at it carefully, they used tape to pull the eyes back to slap them. They're dark blue. We call this yellow face back then. And Anna Mae Wong got to play Mongol slave number 4. A lot of stereotypical roles. So she ended up fighting for better representation for actors like her. So she was ahead of her time in terms of representation matters. And I tell the kids this, and I tell all of you this, is because this is not new. We've been doing this for decades, if not centuries, fighting back for Asian Americans to develop their, representation in media. And then just for fun, I'll just show you a couple of sketches. She worked at a Chinese laundry in downtown LA, and she used to take her laundry to customers, lugging this huge basket. This child really working, how lucky, she shouldn't be doing this, she should be in school. And she would see them filming movies, and they actually nicknamed her the curious Chinese child. She was always asking questions, and then she would go home and practice in front of the mirror, fainting, and trying to act and everything. So she eventually became an actress. And what's interesting is her dad, going back to stereotypes, her dad was like, "No, you have to go to a good school. It's shameful for women to be actresses." But after a while, he realized he loved stuff, and he started driving her to her auditions. So I also write about that because I wanted to break the stereotype of the tiger dad, the tiger mom, because her family supported her. At first they didn't, but they realized how talented she was, and they supported her. So I think that's very cool. This is her again. She's lugging the laundry. This is her. She's scared. She'd sneak off and use her money to go to the Nickelodeon. And then this is her when she was in the movie with Charlie Chan. She was angry because she saw them putting makeup on, and she was furious. And that's what led to her actually going to Europe for a little bit. She said, "Hollywood is racist. I'm out of here." And then I showed briefly, and this is a book I did on Muhammad Yunus. How many of you know Dr. Yunus? Okay, so he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. He used this economic theory of microloans. So basically, impoverished people in Bangladesh, could get, this was very impossible to get loans at a certain low level. And he felt that the reason why he won the Nobel Peace Prize is because if you get rid of poverty, you can pretty much get rid of war, because we go to war over other people's resources. So it was a really ingenious idea that we came up with. And we have microbanking type institutions in America as well. So these are some sketches. He was inspired by his mother, who, no matter how poor they were, she would always give food to the people in the streets of Bangladesh. So he learned about generosity from his mom. And, so that's something I tell the students as well, because, here is, another important AAPI character, from Bangladesh, who needs compassion as a way. That's what inspired me as a student, was compassion. And I had the honor of meeting him, which was wonderful. He's such a nice guy. And I'm going to go a little bit briefly into my new book. Can't really talk about it with the kids because it's above their age level, but because your parents have to know about it. This is a book called From a Whisper to a Round, about the Killing of Vincent Chin and the trial of Galvanized, the Asian American movement. How many of you heard of Vincent Chin? Okay, and how many of you only heard about Vincent Chin recently because of the pandemic? Yeah, some people. So what happened was Vincent Chin, I'll tell you very quickly, Vincent Chin in 1982, he was 27 years old, was going out night on the town with his friends. It was a bachelor party. He was going to get married in about 10 days, and they went to a nightclub. And while they were there, they overheard people screaming racist epithets at them. And one later in the court trial, a witness testified that they allegedly heard the white across the club, across the floor, shout, it's because of you little expletive that we're out of work. Now, what does that mean? In 1982, we were going through our second oil crisis. The American auto industry was in chaos because we were still building these huge gas vessels, and Michigan was home of the big three, Ford, GM, and Chrysler. Ford was from Michigan. That's where the automobile was invented. And people were stopping buying these cars, and they were buying smaller, more fuel-efficient cars coming from Japan and other countries. And what did the auto industry do? What did the politicians do? Instead of saying, oil prices, gas prices, sound familiar, it's a little bit like today. Maybe you too should be looking at trying to invent smaller, more fuel-efficient cars as well. Instead, they called it a trade war. They called Japan another economic Pearl Harbor. They started one congressman called Honda, with the yellow people. This was stuff that was going on in the 1980s. So there was increased anti-Asian sentiment against the Japanese and also against anyone who looked like me, Asian. And so people were scared of Michigan, and hundreds of thousands of auto workers were getting laid off. So this is me. I'm jumping around. This is me in 1993. I was a reporter in Detroit. I haven't changed my style. So I have new socks. They're very comfortable. Fresh socks, which I answer. Anyway, so this is me in 1993 in Detroit. This is Vincent Chin around my age back in 1982. This is what was happening back then. Unemployment rates. And what happened was the auto workers were getting mad. So we would have fundraisers where for $1 we could pay to bash in a jam for the reason that we were jam for the work car. And I want to pause by saying, we've all heard the phrase, we all were taught the phrase, sticks and stones don't break my bones, but things will never hurt me. It's not true. We never should have been taught that. Names have hurt just as much. Names that we use sticks and stones. Names like the little yellow people who did this. To speak or unfairly speak or Japanese import policy, instead of looking at accountability and what we would do in terms of our own economy and our own, how these cars were being made, and then this can lead to what happens. So he's out at nightclub, he hears this, people yelling out, this is because of the ground war, racial epithets. They get into a fight, they get kicked out of the bar. Long story short, he is killed. It's a very violent death, so I'm not going to talk about it, but it's a very famous case. The judge found them guilty of the two white men were found, one of them was a foreigner, Chrysler, and the other, his stepson, was recently unemployed, laid off all later. So you see the optics of what's going on. And both men claim they don't remember singing those words, they don't remember saying any of this. That's what they claimed, that's what they said they didn't recall. But they were found guilty of manslaughter, but the judge at the time said, "You're never going to do this again." So, quote unquote, the famous line he said was that the punishment for the criminal crime, 3 years probation and $3,000 fine. This spoke of the Asian American. Back in the 1980s, you were the Korean American, Chinese American, Indian American, you were of your country. And the term Asian American was coined in 1968 by 2 activist students, and they coined it in solidarity with the Black Panther. And so when you said Asian American in 1982, you know, your auntie, your uncle, your grandma, oh, you're those kids at Berkeley, you know, that's what the Berkeley kids say. But because of what happened to Vincent Chin, all different Asian communities got together in Detroit and said, we are now Asian Americans. So Vincent Chin 1982 was how the term Asian American became adopted by the mainstream Asian. And so they got together, they started protesting, and they ended up getting the Department of Justice, they got interested, they started paying attention, and it led to the first federal civil rights trial on behalf of Asian Americans. Because both men, they had already been found guilty of manslaughter, they could not be retried because that would be the same crimes, that would be double jeopardy. So we ended up, there was federal civil rights trial where they were charged with violating Vincent Chin's civil right to public accommodation, which was the Lonely Nights in San Diego restaurant. So because back then in the 1980s, believe it or not, the ACLU did not think that Asian Americans qualified for protection under the Civil Rights Act. Even though we had the Chinese Exclusion Act, even though we had massacres and Chinatowns across this country in the 1800s, even though we had Vincent Chin, yet we're not protected by the Civil Rights Act. So that's why this case was really, really important. I'm going to fast forward by saying that ultimately one man was found guilty, but because of technical error, which is in the book, they had another trial. The second trial, that technical error was just enough to open up the door and plant a seed of doubt in the jury's mind. So they had no choice but to say, we're going to reverse the guilty conviction. So to this day, both men are not guilty in a court of law of violating Vincent Chin's civil rights. But we didn't lose the war. We may have lost that battle, but because of Vincent Chin, he made us aware of the importance of the Asian American voice, the Asian American Pacific Islander voice in the talk about civil rights and in the dialogue on racism. And this is just to show you what was happening in that so we got 300,000 AAPI members. Paul Carencourt, he's parked in Tokyo. Datsun, Toyota, Nissan, remember Pearl Harbor. So this is a picture of the most famous rally that happened in Detroit. And this actually inspired similar rallies across the country. Asian Americans were mobilizing from Detroit, New York, to see San Francisco, Chicago, LA. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pivot a little bit and talk about my research, not only for this book, but I show this to your students, to your children, to say, do a lot of research. And I say, there wasn't an internet back then, there was no computers, so a lot of the stuff that I had to go through was paper. You know? And I tell the kids, this was the original Twitter, this is how you got canceled back then. people would write very angry letters to the newspaper editors. So these are all the letters that were written to the local Detroit paper saying this isn't how. And then I tell kids, you didn't have group text, you didn't have TikTok, you didn't have e-bites or whatever. You had to actually use paper. And these are the flyers that were printed and literally just distributed on the streets. So that's something I like to show the kids as well. And then I talk about, I went through thousands of pages of court documents. So in a way, I kind of did go to law school, so my mom's happy. Yeah, I read all 1,200 pages of that federal trial. And then these are the binders, of really the binders. I just show this to you so you know what I'm going to tell your kids. I tell your kids, use binders, you know, organize. Here's my cat for a frame of reference to show you how big these binders are. Now, I'm going to talk, we've got, let's see, about 10, 15 minutes left. So I'm going to talk a little bit about everything I just told you with Sammy Lee, with Anna Long, you're seeing the relevance and parallels to today. Doesn't Vincent Chin's story sound familiar? The scapegoating? So ever since the pandemic happened, you know, just like with the car industry, instead of saying, hey, maybe we should get our engineers at Chrysler to build better cars, the American ingenuity, we love a good challenge. No, we're going to blame the Japanese and we're going to start bashing, you know, the crap out of their cars. We're just going to blame, we're going to just scapegoat instead of solving a problem. Well, what happened when we heard about this virus coming out of Wuhan, China? You know, normally people start putting little flags on their profiles or they're saying hashtag prayers for whoever. I didn't see any hashtag prayers for Wuhan. The videos from China were heartbreaking. You can see these doctors in hazmat suits saying what they felt like we could buy for the final time to their children who are weeping outside the, you know, the plastic that they put up. It broke my heart. What did we do? We started saying China virus. We started saying come through. Once again, it's because of you little whatever that we're out of work. Oh, come flu. It's your fault that we're having this pandemic. Instead of being accountable and saying, what can we do to help? How can we find a vaccine? Let's all wear our masks to protect each other. So because of that, there's now, the number actually, this is an older, this is from last year, it's now over 11,000 hate crimes that have been reported. And then this is just an example of the, you know, I am not virus. And so what happened, as you saw in 1982, we started protesting again. You see this on virus. That looks familiar. Right? What's interesting is, look at that, look how similar that is. So when this started happening, people started saying to the media, oh, Asian Americans, they're mobilizing, especially after the tragedy in Atlanta. You know, they're mobilizing, they're speaking out. And I was really angry about that because it said, we did this 40 years ago. And we also did this even earlier, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So this is something that people need to understand. I think that the problem is that they say history repeats itself, which is a bad thing. But I think like with Pandora's box, remember how we open up and hope comes out, even though history repeats itself, so does hope. So that's why when I see this, I'm like, okay, history is repeating itself, but I'm also encouraged and inspired when I see this. And this then, of course, as Vincent Chin's case, I will let you know that Vincent Chin's case, although we lost the battle, that particular case, Vincent Chin's case, was one of the many cases that led to change in Michigan legislature, in the Michigan Court of Law. What happened in Michigan was because of Vincent Chin and other cases, victims' families are now, they are now allowed to be impacted to the judge, because when the hearing happened for Vincent Chin, family wasn't even notified that there was a hearing. Today, they're not allowed to do that. So there are some things that have had a tangible effect, as did our protest, which led to the signing last year, May 21st, 2021, or what year is it? May 21st, 2021, the Anti-COVID Hate Crimes Act was signed. And it was signed 3 days after what would have been Vincent Chin's 66th birthday. And now I think, I think that's the time. You know, actually, I think also what I'd like to do, just do something, because we have some time. I just want for you to see my elaborate. I have another thing that I did for a different school, and there's a photo here. I'm just going to scroll through here. There's a photo I wanted to show too that I think is actually really important. Sorry, bear with me. Oh, there it is. Okay. So do you see this photo right here? This is Jesse Jackson and Lily Chin, Vincent Chin's father. They became best friends, and we owe the Asian American Solidarity movement. We owe a debt of gratitude to the Black, to the civil rights fighting that they did back in the day, because we had to fight solidarity. So back then, Jesse Jackson and Congressman John Connors and a lot of the Detroit and the national Black community, they got together and joined forces with the Asian American community, said this is not right. we're gonna fight. But people forget this. They forget that, Asian American college students were marching in 1968 with the Black Panthers. Jesse Jackson had a very close relationship with Willie Shea. So I think that I can talk to you all day long about Asian American, model minority, myth, and anti-Asian racism. I can talk to you all about this as much as I want, but it does not matter if I don't also say that we have to support the Black community, that we have to support all diverse communities. We have to fight against anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, fatphobia. It's horrible what's happening. Misogyny, the LGBT community, and so forth. Like, we all have to be allies and listen to other communities and fight for them as much as they have to us. Otherwise, we're just having little monologues everywhere, and we're not having a meaningful discussion that can move the ball further down the field, or whatever metaphor you want to use. And what I love about this legacy, there's never going to happen because of Vincent Chin. We have a lot of people that are banning fighting for this. And in fact, when Atlanta happened, the swamp from last year was from my heart. The singer rapper made this sound, and they both donated up to over $100,000 to the loved ones of the people killed in Atlanta. So I mean, that was a beautiful show of solidarity. We should be doing the same. I've been posting where you can donate for what happened in Buffalo. There's some local food drives and mental health resources in the Black community. Buffalo. So if you follow me on Twitter, you can see those links. So that's just important. I wanted to add that since we have a little bit of time. So now I'm going to go back here. So I'm going to wrap up talking a little bit about education. So this is Paula Yoo. He is the man who took this photo. He's a famous Chinese American photographer who has been taking photos of huge, important Asian American historical events for over 50 years. And what happened was, he saw this photo. Now, I'll go back to education for a little bit. Remember how nobody knew who Lawrence Gap was? We barely teach Asian American history from kindergarten to 12th grade. We a sidebar on the fact that, oh, by the way, World War II, oh yeah, by the way, here's a sidebar in the textbook about, we illegally imprisoned Japanese Americans during World War II. Oops, we shouldn't have done that. Okay, now let's go back to the real chapter. We're constantly just kind of swept aside. We're an extracurricular activity in these classes. We all know about the Continental Railroad, and how many people were told that Chinese laborers built the railroad? How many people know that? Or were taught that? I said, yeah, some people know about that. So this is a photo from 1896. This is a golden spike photo. This is when the railroad went from the east to the west coast and met in the middle of Promontory Point in Utah, and they had a golden spike, and they hammered it, they had champagne, and they went, yay, you can now travel across the country on a train. Do you see a single Chinese laborer in this picture? Nope, not a single one was there. Now the thing is that the Chinese laborers, and there's a bunch of them at the time, the Chinese laborers, they were paid half of what the white laborers were, and they often were asked to carry the dynamite, because dynamite back then, as it is today, was very volatile, and if you stumbled on a pebble or whatever, you could blow up. So the railroad companies were like, well, we lose you, 50 cents to the dollar, your lines are cheap, you don't matter. And remember model minority net? Oh, the Chinese, they work really hard. Model minority net, it's not about individual achievement, it's not about your humanity, you are part of the mass now, you are not human. You carry the dynamite. It's estimated that about 1,500, if not more, of these Chinese laborers died in this railroad, and they're not here. Corky Lee, who took this picture, saw that. So in 2014, he got a bunch of Asian Americans, many of them were descendants of these laborers, to recreate this photo and reclaim our history. And there's a documentary that's out about this, there's actually 2 documentaries about this that are out right now. So it's incredible. I get chills every time I see this photo. But from this is what we're doing right now. This is what drives me in my writing. And I'll wrap up by saying that, I do have to say this. He also, reportedly died of COVID in January. He died before the death was available. And when I wrote the afterword from it, it's some shit about the pandemic. And I wrote my afterword, as I write this, more than 100,000 Americans have died. the time the book came out, we had to keep crossing that number. And then it broke my font every time I crossed it out. And by the time the book came out, we were up to 367,000 in annually. He became part of that number. That's just something you have to think about, think about his contributions. And now finally, I'm going to wrap up by saying, I don't know if you've heard about this statistic, but they found out that last year, 1 out of 4 Asian American Pacific Islander teenagers have reported being victims of verbal harassment, physical harassment, and bullying because they have done. And recently, New Jersey, Illinois, and California, and actually Illinois is the first state to now mandate mandatory, in-depth, nuanced Asian American Pacific Islander history to be taught as a course in kindergarten through 12th grade. New Jersey was the second state. California is the third state, although they have a mandatory ethnic studies class that we must take to graduate from high school. And I keep thinking to myself, how do I be able to talk this whole time? How do I see myself other than Charlotte the Spider and insect? I identified with a bug, something that crawls on the earth. That was where I found out about it. How do we teach our history and celebrate our legacy and contribution to other diverse communities in kindergarten and 12th grade? Perhaps this number would have been 0. So that's what drives me with my life. Thank you so much. Oh, now I can see it. Oh, yes, hi.
Thank you so much. That was very impressive. And, I have to contextualize this. How do you, I'm sure it has been kind of persistent from within our own community, especially like the baby boomer generation. A lot of us are grandparents who are involved in our children's lives. They might celebrate the minority themselves, or may have their own kind of isolation and stereotypical beliefs about other communities, but are forces in our children's life as well. And like our kids listen to them and they are influencing. Having none of that was, you know, it's not easy to change minds, obviously, but how do we navigate it, or old parents navigate that conversation with their old parents, especially that again, grandparents that newer generation.
That's a great question. I really do believe it's sports because, you know, they say that when you read it makes you more compassionate and empathetic because as you read, you kind of become the person that's there in the book. And I think what it is as parents, unfortunately, we have to be really, as you know, because you're all amazing parents and you know you have to be proactive. There's not a lot of access to these books. And you know, grandparents, they'll read, one of the most wonderful things you can do with a child is to a child with a grandparent, they're reading a book together, a picture book. There are many resources out there that provide diverse books that can help as the grandparents read that they can kind of go, oh, you know, this is happening to this little kid. Now I'm starting to get it, or Sandy, or whatever. My publisher, Yale, publishes all diverse multicultural books for all. They publish books in Spanish. They have a lot of award-winning books, written by Black authors and different ethnicities and races. There's also an organization that started called Diverse Books. So if you Google that, they have a lot of resources and reading lists, things like that. So that's one thing. I think that you know, even by you just asking that question, you just did something. Just by asking that question is an act of defiance, is an act of activism. You know, in fact, this article that just came out that said Asian American people are having a talk with their parents. And it's it's the opposite. And so, yeah, I mean, I think just by that, thank you for that question.
We have to, yeah, we wanted to do something for, I mean, I didn't expect to be so emotional, like with the show. That really has to be such community. And I know it's a small number, as Ian said, but what you shared, if we can amplify this message, if we can leverage our EA and administration and the power of ourselves, keep that connection within the community, and just really get us all connected, I think this is so important. It's more important now, not just for ourselves, but our growth. So I really, I don't know.
It's been a very emotional week.
Yeah.
I have a mutual friend who was friends with the doctor with the people with, so it's very, it's
A lot of what happened in this weekend, touched us. It's just more, right? It's just more and more and more. So I think I'm encouraged by the strength of our community and by those who are here today, that I know with our voices, we can really bring the community together. And, I'm counting on you to do that. I'm counting on myself to do that. And I just want to thank you once again for coming here and, sharing your perspective with us and helping us sort of build our strength in numbers. So thank you so much.
What was the name of the documentary?
Oh,
That you were talking
about cookie?
Yes.
Oh, you know what, go to my friend, my friend is Curtis Chin, and, I think his website is Curtis from Detroit or something like that,
Okay.
I think you can find, yeah, I can,
I'll send it to us and then we can forward it.
yeah, I'll send it, yeah, I'll send the information, and I'll send the information out. There are two documentaries, but, his is, talking to Porky, and then the other one is specifically about Porky, but I will send that information.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.